The sharks see all of that blood, they smell that blood, and they come. There he's splashing in the water, and then you hear a blood-curdling scream, and you see that K-pop jacket go under. Then it brings the remains of the body back up to the surface. Like a fish cork, the cork comes back up. Now, the third day at noon, there was only 17 of us left. The sharks hit many of them, and we heard those blood-curdling screams over and over and over. And then boys then hallucinate, hypothermia, and they drop by the wayside, so to speak. We made a mistake in that someone passed away, and someone would say, hey, let's get his dog tags, okay? Who's going to keep the dog tags, okay? And so you pass all the dog tags to that individual, but then after a period of time, where is that individual? He's gone, and all the tags went with him. So there's no way to identify the body then later when the search crew comes along and looks at those bodies.
It's a little past midnight, and the USS Indianapolis is cruising through calm waters after completing one of the most secret missions of World War II. The crew aboard believes they're heading towards safety. Little did they know they were being followed. Lurking just below the surface is a Japanese I-58 submarine. Its commander, Mochitsura Hashimoto, orders 2 Type 95 torpedoes fired, both striking their target. In less than 12 minutes, the ship was nearly completely submerged. Nearly 900 men are suddenly thrown into the open Pacific, some injured, many without life jackets. As the sun rises, dark shapes begin circling beneath the surface. Leg bumps and nudges startle the sailors waiting for rescue. Rescue that would not come in time. The area quickly became a feeding ground, marking what many consider the most horrific maritime disaster in history. Whenever we think of maritime disasters, names like the Titanic or the Wilhelm Gustloff often come to mind. Their great loss of life has secured their place in history. Yet, few naval tragedies are as haunting as the story of the USS Indianapolis. 4 days before the disaster, the USS Indianapolis completed a mission that would alter the course of human history. The cruiser had just delivered critical components of the world's first operational atomic weapon to Tinian Island. There, the parts were carefully assembled into the bomb known as Little Boy, a weapon that would soon be dropped on Hiroshima, killing an estimated 80,000.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe.
The uranium core and delicate bomb mechanisms required painstaking handling by crews who worked around the clock under absolute secrecy. Meanwhile, the Fat Man atomic bomb, planned to be dropped on Nagasaki, was transported to Tinian by air. Because of the mission's urgency and top-secret nature, the Indianapolis sailed alone, without escort, through waters still patrolled by Japanese submarines.
Captain McVeigh then asked for an escort, and they refused him an escort. Now, we received orders to go to the Philippines. Now, here we have a heavy cruiser with no underwater sound gear. So they are sending us out in harm's way, no way to protect ourselves from enemy submarines.
With its secret mission complete, the USS Indianapolis departed Guam, carrying nothing but a skeleton crew of officers aware of the top-secret atomic cargo it had just delivered. Its destination was Leyte in the Philippines, where it would rejoin the larger U.S. fleet and assist in operations for a potential invasion of the Japanese mainland, Operation Downfall. The voyage was supposed to be routine. Sailing alone at 17 knots, the cruiser cut silently through the Pacific waters. For a while, the voyage seemed uneventful, the calm sea offering a deceptive peace, masking the peril that would strike just hours later. Just after midnight on July 30th, 1945, the Japanese submarine I-58, commanded by Mochitsura Hashimoto, lurked silently beneath the dark waters. From the shadows, it fired 2 Type 95 torpedoes, both striking the Indianapolis. The first tore open the bow, igniting fires and sending men scrambling. The second struck mid-ship, flooding compartments, triggering secondary explosions, and knocking out power. In less than 12 minutes, the cruiser slipped beneath the waves. Hundreds of men never made it out, while roughly 300 remained trapped inside, never to be seen again. As the ship was sinking, about 900 men plunged into the open water. But as chaos erupted, many suffered injuries, while others never had time to strap on a life jacket before hitting the water. Those lucky enough to secure a vest weren't much better off. They could do nothing but bob helplessly in the open sea. Many were wounded, bearing deep gashes and broken bones from the torpedo strikes. In the vast ocean, there was no way to treat their injuries. Fuel from the wreckage coated many sailors, burning the skin, stinging the eyes, and making every stroke a struggle. The screams of pain and terror gradually grew fainter as many men succumbed to their injuries, exhaustion, and dehydration. Although the ship sank quickly, an SOS transmission was sent and received by the U.S. Navy. However, they were not taken seriously for reasons that remain unknown to this day. Even when the ship failed to arrive in Leyte, no alarm was raised, no search parties were dispatched. Meanwhile, those floating in the ocean began attracting the attention of oceanic white-tipped sharks lurking beneath the waves. This species of shark is typically 3 to 4 meters long, weighs up to 375 pounds, 170 kilograms, and lives in the open ocean where food is scarce. They are highly opportunistic, investigating anything unusual at the surface and often circling, bumping, or testing before attacking. In groups, their opportunistic behavior could escalate rapidly, turning curiosity into deadly aggression. The sharks were first drawn by the commotion, blood, and oil in the water, and at first fed on those who had already perished, but soon began testing and attacking the living too, starting with those who were injured. As they closed in, screams were heard which would cut short as bodies were dragged beneath the surface, leaving only life vests floating silently. Aware of the danger, the survivors clung together, forming tight clusters as they bobbed in the open sea. But no matter how hard they tried, someone would eventually drift away and be taken by the sharks. One survivor recalled a group of 15 sailors. Suddenly, 10 sharks swarmed them, leaving nothing behind. As the sun rose, those still afloat got a horrifying glimpse of the scene. The remains of fellow crewmen, some still trapped in life jackets, others already partially eaten. Daylight offered a small measure of visibility and a chance to stay vigilant, but when night fell, the frenzy would begin again. There were moments when the survivors were spared. Some of the bodies trapped inside the Indianapolis eventually floated to the surface. The sharks fed on these corpses, which temporarily drew them away from the living men in the water. This grim distraction slowed the rate of the attacks, but it was only for brief moments. As time passed, more sharks were drawn in by the blood and activity, and the feeding grew more aggressive. To increase their chance of survival, some groups tried to stay together for safety, knowing sharks were less likely to attack well-organized clusters. One survivor-led group organized shark watches, with members taking turns scanning the water and kicking at sharks to keep them at bay. However, as fins approached, those on the edge of the group were still attacked. On the third day, some of the survivors discovered pieces of floating wreckage and lashed them together. The debris was not strong enough to serve as a raft, but it could be used for another vital purpose: drying their life jackets. The men would wring the kapok-filled vests out by hand and spread them across the floating debris to dry in the sun before putting them back on. This helped restore their buoyancy and allowed more of them to remain afloat longer. Any scrap of flotsam became precious, offering brief relief from the exhausting effort of staying above water. The conditions weren't just sharks. Dehydration, exposure, sunburn, and salt poisoning compounded the terror. Many men began to hallucinate, thinking they saw land, airplanes, or even the ship's galley offering food and water. Some swam downward toward these illusions and never returned.
And they said that they were swimming to the Philippines, and they asked if anyone wanted to join them. And I said to my Marine buddy, I said, Spooner, I'm going to go with them. And he said, Harold, if you go, I'm going. So here 2 Marines joined 5 sailors, and we think, we're going to swim to the Philippines. Well, we didn't know it was another 500 miles.
The ordeal lasted 3.5 days, as Navy Command did not learn of the Indianapolis's sinking until survivors were spotted in the open ocean on the morning of August 2nd. A PV-1 Ventura, piloted by Lieutenant Wilbur Gwynn and Lieutenant Warren Caldwell, spotted the men adrift during a routine patrol flight. Gwynn reported seeing up to 150 survivors back to his base at Peleliu. Immediately, available air and surface units were dispatched to the scene. The USS Cecil J. Doyle, a destroyer operating nearby, was alerted to the disaster. The ship's captain immediately diverted course and rushed to the scene to rescue the survivors. In the meantime, Lieutenant Adrian Marks, a 27-year-old U.S. Navy pilot flying a PBY Catalina patrol seaplane, also began dropping rafts and emergency supplies to the scattered survivors below. When he saw men being attacked by sharks and too weak to hold on much longer, Marks made a daring decision. Defying standing orders that prohibited water landings in open ocean swells, he brought his aircraft down onto the rough sea and began pulling survivors directly from the water. As more sailors were rescued, the plane became dangerously overloaded. With no room left inside, Marks tied additional survivors to the wings using parachute cords. By the end of the day, Adrian Marks had saved 56 men. When the Doyle arrived, its captain took another bold risk. He ordered the ship's searchlight aimed into the sky to guide other rescue vessels to the survivors. In wartime, this move made the destroyer an easy target for enemy submarines, but time was running out. By the end of the rescue operation, only 316 of the original 900 men who entered the water were alive and rescued. This was especially tragic, considering the ship's original crew numbered 1,196. The rest had died from thirst, exposure, injuries, or shark attacks. The Navy was shocked and outraged by what had happened. However, because the Indianapolis had been carrying components of the atomic bomb, the full truth could not be revealed immediately. The U.S. government kept the disaster secret for 2 weeks. During that time, Hiroshima and Nagasaki were destroyed, with the bomb dropped on Hiroshima assembled from parts delivered by the Indianapolis. News of the sinking was finally released on August 15, 1945, the same day Japan announced its surrender.
Latest reports from the Japanese say that 126,000 died as the result of the damage done by the single bomb that blasted the city. With the help of gauze masks, a few citizens seemed able to exist among the wastelands. Although the end of Japan's aggression was in sight before atomic bombings, it was this terrific force that finally signed her death warrant.
The tragedy was largely overshadowed by celebrations of victory. Several months after the sinking, Captain Charles McVeigh, commander of the USS Indianapolis, was court-martialed. He was accused of failing to zigzag his ship, a maneuver intended to reduce the risk of submarine attack. Many historians and contemporaries believed he had been made a scapegoat to shield the Navy from broader blame. In fact, McVeigh was the only U.S. Navy captain court-martialed for losing a ship during World War II. Decades later, in 2000, Congress officially cleared his name, acknowledging that he had been unjustly held responsible. Tragically, the ruling came far too late. McVeigh had taken his own life in 1968, haunted by the disaster and by letters from families grieving those lost at sea. Today, his exoneration serves as a reminder of the heavy burden he bore and the enduring human cost of war. For 72 years, the exact location of the USS Indianapolis remained unknown, hidden by the extreme depth of the Philippine Sea and limited records of her last position. In August 2017, a team of civilian researchers led by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen finally located the wreck, resting about 18,000 feet, 5,500 meters below the surface. The ship lies largely intact on the ocean floor and is considered a protected war grave. Like the Indianapolis, the RMS Titanic was also lost for more than 70 years after sinking in April 1912. The story of how it was finally found is fascinating, and many of the search missions were covered in one of our previous videos. Be sure to watch that video after this one to learn more about the Titanic's incredible discovery in 1985. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.